This question of Taiwan's position in the world and its ability to carve out space for itself, carve out allies at the level of international organizations and also formal diplomatic relationships with other countries is something that has gotten a fair amount of attention. But ultimately, Taiwan is going to need to build a set of supportive alliances for itself at every level, starting at the level of cities and states, and then moving up to those, higher level things like the UN, which are also incredibly important. Taiwan has been really active at pursuing forms of subnational diplomacy, ranging from sister city relationships to making it quite easy for American cities and states to establish trade and export promotion offices in Taiwan, to now things like making it relatively easy for an American driver who moves to Taiwan to get a Taiwan driver's license and vice versa. So some of these are at the level of kind of making administrative procedures operate more smoothly. Others are about creating opportunities for person-to-person contact or cultural exchange. And others are really about establishing and deepening business relationships between businesses in Taiwan and in the U.S. For my whole academic career, I've been really interested in studying local governments, both in mainland China and in Taiwan. And my research has broadly explored questions about how or why local officials are in some cases really responsive to the needs of their citizens, and in other cases kind of do what they want and don't really pay too much attention to what citizens want or need. And as I was studying local governments in Taiwan, and in particular in the lead up to Taiwan's 2020 presidential election, some of these questions about the role of city governments in engaging in foreign trade began to really become an issue in Taiwan's presidential election, because Han Kuo-yu, the candidate who ultimately lost the election, was really pushing for closer ties, economic ties to China. And one of the ways that he was doing that was by using his role as a mayor of a large city, the city of Kaohsiung, to try to sort of sign trade agreements and say that he was going to make Kaohsiung rich in part by selling its agricultural products to other countries. And the idea of a mayor sort of going out on his own and establishing new trade relationships, especially given the difficult relationship between Taiwan and mainland China, made a lot of people really uneasy. And so that just sort of got me interested in this idea that local governments, much of what they're doing is focused on the basic sort of day-to-day work of serving their citizens. But in some cases, they also are playing a role in international relations. And it was really interesting to me as someone who has, grown up and lived in the United States for most of my life to learn more about the role that officials from American cities and states were playing in foreign affairs, in some cases really without meaning to. People would sort of get drawn into a conflict over the cross-strait relationship without really knowing anything about it, because they signed what seemed like an innocuous relationship with a city, or an innocuous agreement with a city in Taiwan, and then all of a sudden were subject to pressure and criticism from officials from the PRC. So those kinds of dynamics were things that were sort of surprising to me and really interesting to me to learn about.